If there's one tree which not only symbolises my love for woodland photography, but is also a symbol of England, it's the big, bold and enduring oak tree. It was only through rekindling my interest in photography and discovering the healing benefits of woodland that I realised just how significant the oak tree is to my local area. I've spent years exploring every corner of the nearby countryside in my quest to find woodland that offered solitude, solace, a sense of undisturbed nature, and trees which were visually striking, complex, writhing, and sometimes otherworldly. It was almost like a childhood instinct to explore and feel immersed in enchanted nature. It was through these curious wanders that I discovered the most wonderful old oak trees, aesthetically delightful, environmentally and historically valuable. These fantastic areas of moss-laden rocks, decaying old fallen deadwood offering nutrients and a habitat for wildlife, and blooms of wild flowers growing from undisturbed soil. But of course, at the time, I was quite ignorant to these details, their significance, and the ecosystems that these big old trees help to sustain. The ignorance was bliss though, because I found the process of slowly learning about the nature that surrounds me to be immensely rewarding. As each year and season passed by, I could enjoy, observe and learn at a slow pace. Time passes by very differently in the woods. It feels like time collects, and I guess we're collecting moments in time as photographers, slowing down, taking time, observing the effects of time. It's all about connecting with a place and enlightening your vision as a photographer. And when it comes to time, there's few trees in England that have seen more of it than the oak. So how old does a tree have to be classified as ancient or veteran? Well, it depends upon the species of tree. For example, the silver birch that's over 100 years old can be classified as ancient. But when we're looking at oak trees, they would have to be over 400 years old. A veteran oak tree is about 150 to 300 years old, but many will start to develop those ancient characteristics from about 300 years. And things such as pollarding will speed up the process of developing veteran characteristics. However, there's lapsed pollards in this woodland that have been here since the 1350s, which puts them very firmly in the ancient category. In fact, trees here would have been witness to dukes riding horses and hunting wild boar. Absolutely fascinating. So how can you go about spotting an ancient or veteran oak tree? Well, perhaps one of the first signs is the diameter or the girth of the trunk. Now, a tree has a breast height, which is around about 1.3 meters from the ground, and that's the point at which you want to measure. And you're looking for something that has a diameter of over 2 meters or a girth of over 6 meters. Find that and you've probably got yourself a truly ancient oak tree. However, substantially less is still valuable in terms of conservation. However, there's other factors to consider, such as growing conditions, location. So some of the other characteristics to look out for are cavities or hollowing of the trunk, large quantities of dead wood in the canopy, crevices in the bark, mosses, lichens and liverworts, lost bark, physical damage to the trunk. And bear in mind that the tree may look in poor shape, but the reality is it's probably perfectly healthy for its age. All veteran and ancient trees are of historic interest. The trees here telling stories from the Middle Ages, living documents telling us of past management practices and ways of life, and likely also relics descended from a wildwood that once covered the whole of this national park over 8,000 years ago, a place roamed by wolves and boar. But then they began to clear the trees in the Bronze Age to make room for farms, animals and crops. And then by the Middle Ages, most of the woodland had disappeared. And I guess that's the worrying thing, is that it takes mere minutes for a human to condemn a tree that's lived through more changes in its lifetime than we could ever imagine. So how is all this relevant to photography? Well, I can only speak from my own experience, and that's been one of slowly discovering, understanding, admiring and being fascinated by woodlands close to home. So it feels like a completely natural process to then care about these places that offer so many benefits. And it's that care that ignites a desire to learn. So over recent years, I've not been learning photography, but learning about the places I love to photograph. And it's that has aided and inspired my vision and creative interpretation of these wonderful places. So with that in mind, I think I'm going to go and make some photographs. It's a very strange spring that we're having this year. In fact, if it wasn't for some of those silver birch leaves coming through, you'd think it was still winter. We've just had weeks of cold, dry air coming in from the north, which hasn't been good for woodland photography, and it's not been good for the woodland flora either. Normally I'd expect to see carpets of wild garlic and bluebells everywhere. There's signs of bluebells here, but no flower heads whatsoever yet, which is really quite unusual. But I've lined up an image here anyway. I'm treating it as a scouting image. In fact, if you look at my recent post on Instagram, I posted a 5-year-old image called Guardians of the Forest, and there's the scouting image and the end result, and there's a massive difference between the two. And I think it shows the benefit of, trying to recognize the potential in scenes and working towards that vision. And it's about balance though. It's about having those long-term goals, but also being inspired by the moment too. This one, I do see the benefit of coming back a little bit later in the season. I'd like to see some of the oak tree canopy, because that's going to help disguise some slightly distracting elements in the background. I've got some nice connecting branches at the top offering a bit of a frame, which is pleasing. And then nestled amongst these oak trees is a birch tree where the leaves are coming through, and then not so long ago they were backlit and just glowing very, very nice. That's the good thing about silver birch leaves. When they come through, they're just tender, delicate, almost translucent, and they look wonderful when they're backlit, very much like beech leaves as well. It's interesting actually how our interpretation and feeling towards elements within the scene changes as we change as people. So go back a few years and I was photographing dead trees, fallen limbs and things like that, and it was quite a melancholic view because it was representative of how I was feeling, a little bit broken at the time. Now I still embrace those things, but my view of them and feeling towards them has completely changed. I see them in a much more positive light now. Like I said, broken branches on trees isn't necessarily a sign it's unhealthy, it's just part of the natural life cycle. So all these big branches rotting on the floor, adding nutrients to the soil, they harbour microhabitats themselves. So my view has completely changed. As it happens though, the backlighting was quite pleasant, so my scouting image should look quite good. There's a 5x4, I'll show you that, see what you think. But it's getting quite cold now. Like I said, it still feels like winter. I haven't got much time left. I'm just going to wander here for around a little bit longer and then head home, I think, and get warmed up. We're starting to lose the light a little bit now, but I'm going to make one last scouting image. Nice arrangement of oak trees here, mossy boulders again, huge lump of deadfall over on the left hand side there, using up the full frame, the full 3:2 aspect ratio, and it makes quite a nice little composition, I think, so definitely one to come back to. But yeah, thank you very much for watching this episode. Hope you found it interesting. Please let me know in the comments section below. Give it a thumbs up. This is my photography, it's my livelihood, it's my passion, and things like comments, like sharing, anything like that, it's a big help, and very much appreciated. So yeah, any form of engagement is good. So yeah, thanks again, and I hope to see you again very soon.